spilling any beans that I shouldn't be spilling yet? Have you noticed? Is there...
Chris said you were allowed to tell any secrets you wanted.
Oh, okay.
He said you're going to tell them all. He didn't feel like it.
Tell us all.
I very much enjoyed this double dead ensemble.
You like it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as I've gotten older, I've got my what is it? I tend to say a lot more things on my mind.
That's okay.
That's a good thing.
So what's been the biggest surprise about coming back to the world of the X-Files after a long hiatus?
It wasn't really. Well, I mean, it was just like what, a year since we did the last 6. You know, it just always feels like I'm coming back home. It doesn't. I don't. You know, the scripts are always a surprise. They're always great. They're always like we used to describe them as getting Christmas presents. You know, it's like you open them up. It's like opening up a Christmas present, seeing what they had in store for your character, your storylines. But it's always fun to come back and play these characters and work with these other actors and work with Chris and the other people that we work with on the show. So it's pretty awesome. It's a gift that keeps giving, man. 5 years later, here we are. I got no complaints. It's wonderful.
One thing I've always loved about Skinner is I felt he always, and his action showed it, that in a lot of ways he believed in Scully and Mulder and really looked out for them. And I thought that almost made it like a triad rather than just the two of them.
Well, I think he's their support. He's their champion within the FBI. I think that they were looking for somebody to fill that role, and unfortunately, I just happened to fall into it. So I feel blessed. Yeah.
What about a Skinner spinoff? You and Chris ever talk about just focusing the show just on you?
Yeah, you know what? When they spun the Lone Gunman off, I went to Chris and I was going, "What the hell is going on? They're spinning them off. What about Skinner? Why don't they spin Skinner off?" And he looked at me and he goes, "What would it be about?" And I was like, I have no idea. I mean, what would it be about? So it was. I don't know. I don't know if that's anything that would unless it was Cigarette Smoking Man and Skinner like going at each other, spitting the two of those characters off until they just beat each other to death or whatever. But yeah. So but there is a Skinner-centric episode coming up. So I'm very excited about it. Written by Gabe Rodder, who was one of Chris's longtime associates.
The passage of time is obviously a big factor in the changes to all these characters, but I was wondering if there was anything...
How do I look so good?
No, not at all. But
oh, wow.
Whoa. Don't take it out of context. That's not what I meant.
We're done.
That's not what I meant. What I wanted to get to was there anything else that you had in mind or that you talked about with the writers wanting to bring to Skinner now?
No.
That you're coming back to the show?
No, you know what? I'm not a writer. I'm not a story guy. Too lazy. I tried writing and it was painful. And somebody read what I wrote and they were like, I thought all the dialogue that I written was brilliant. And it was like, yeah, okay, where's it going? I was like, I have no idea. But so I just, I don't, unless there's something in the course of doing a scene, like just the other day I was shooting a scene with David and there was a line in it that just didn't ring true for me with the character. So I said, I just don't think I would say this line. And it was like, okay. And they're very good about that.
So they encourage that, like whenever it really.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily encouraged, but it's like, but they definitely do listen to our point of view and our opinions in respect to that.
Skinner is such a serious character, and I've recently watched you in a couple of great roles like Shocker and 3 O'Clock High, which was a lot of fun to see you in, where you get to be a little more fun. Is it challenging to kind of slip into that,
I found myself the other day, because I've done other things where I can. I played a character on Dallas that was like a rogue, and he was like he took joy in being a dick, So I found myself wanting to maybe bring a little bit of that to Skinner, just to open up, make him more dimensional or something like that. And I just couldn't do it. It didn't feel right to me. So I can't. I didn't do it. I was like, But he is, yeah, and like I say, you find out why he is the way he is this season. You find out a lot about him.
You did a couple of these sort of like large genre franchises over the years. How has the fandom changed since when you started through the different?
Well, they have a lot more access to us. As a matter of fact, I'm going to a fan-based benefit tonight at a comedy club here in town for No Kids Hungry, which is a charity that I like to focus on. And I have a really good relationship with these people. They come. I do a lot of conventions, so I meet a lot of these people, and I become friends with a lot of them. So now it's like. It's a little worrisome in that now they know me, and so when they watch me, when they watch Skinner, they're going, "No, that's it doesn't ring true." You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's a little, and being active on social media, I worry about that too, because I'm just afraid that people are going to become too familiar with who I am, so that when they watch a role that I'm playing, it doesn't sit right. I don't know if that makes any sense, but. And I've talked to other actors about that, and they're going, yeah, that's true too, but then again, you can do a lot of really cool things on social media as far as advancing charities and trying to help people out that need help.
So with this Skinner-centric episode, we're going to see like dynamics change between Skinner and Scully and Mulder?
You're going to see dynamics change between the three of them before that. Right off the bat. And that's all I'm going to say. Sorry.
What did it feel like to go from acting director to director? I mean, for years it was acting director.
No, assistant director. He's still assistant director.
Oh, assistant? Oh,
yeah, no. No, I think in the comics they made him I think he got some kind of promotion, deputy director, I think, or something like that. But that's the comic books. Mm-hmm. And on the show, he's still an assistant director, and you find out why he is this season.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Which I'm happy about.
Outside of Skinner, because you've played so many different kinds of roles in your career, is there what attracts you to a role nowadays, or is there a certain kind of role you're still looking to play?
I just want it, as long as, I know that actors say this a lot, but as long as the writing's good, as long as the story's good, blah blah blah. But it's actually true. I'm kind of cutting back on doing guest starring roles on TV because I've done them. I've done them all, and I'm like, it's just. I don't want to do them anymore. If there's a great recurring role or a series regular, I know absolutely I would do series again. But I just don't want to do a bunch. And for a long time there, I was doing guest star after guest star after guest star, and some of them were not good. I was fortunate enough to work on Criminal Minds and do an episode, play a character that I was very proud of. So if something like that were to materialize, then. I would love to do that, but I didn't even know what that was going to be when I got it, because somebody had dropped out. The director called me up and asked me if I would take the role over, and it turned out to be one of the things that I'm the most proud of as far as acting in TV. Any other lies you want me to tell you?
I think what I enjoyed last year was the episode where you kind of told the story of the X-Files from the monster's point of view. I thought that was one of the most. I'm surprised they hadn't done it before.
That's Darren Morgan.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
That's Darren Morgan. That's what he does. He does some really, really interesting stuff, and he's and I'm finally got into a Darren Morgan episode. I've been lobbying them for so long, both the Morgans, to put me in their episodes, and it's like the last 6 they weren't able to because there was so much story they had to tell, and Skinner didn't fit into the story. But this time I got to work with both of them. It was great.
Do you personally have a preference between the mythology-based episodes or the more Monster of the Week episodes?
Well, I like them all. I like them all. Yeah. I mean, the mythology are the ones that Skinner is usually part of, but I have to be honest, the episodes that are my favorites are episodes that I'm not in. And I don't know if that's a common thing with actors or not, but it's like it's maybe if I get distracted by me being there and watching my performance or whatever, but I just like watching the show and not having to worry about that aspect of it. But I am a fan of the show. I think it's a great show, and I think it's the fact that we're doing it, still doing it almost 25 years later is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. And I feel blessed, and it's like the gift that keeps giving. It really is.
So we saw younger versions of Mulder and Scully last year, and the two new agents. It's gonna be like a different version, like Skinner, like a younger, new Skinner.
I'm not going to answer that.
Good for you.
I'm gonna keep asking questions if nobody minds. But when you left X-Files, then you did do another sci-fi genre series with Stargate, which was a lot of fun.
Which is basically Skinner in a flight suit.
Right. But you got to at least get out of the office
Yeah.
and onto a spaceship. I guess most of the
I
time.
did have a spaceship. I got to my
That's
Captain
pretty
Kirk
cool.
on it. It was pretty cool.
What was that experience like? Because that's also a very dedicated fan base.
It was fun, I like I said, I had a spaceship, and it's fun sitting on the bridge, man, doing all that, with the pyro and
Right.
barking commands, and when you're in battles in space, it's a trip. And it was a great cast to work with, It was a lot of good actors to work with, and I really had a good. And plus, it was in Vancouver, and it was a lot of fun.
One of the first films I remember seeing you in was Shocker, way back in the day with Peter Berg, who's gone on to become a very prominent director now. Have you guys thought about possibly collaborating on anything?
I actually saw. I went to. David was doing one of his performances because he sings, and at the Roxy in Hollywood, and my wife and I went to it, and I looked down and I saw Pete. Pete was down. He was. David had invited him. They're friends. And I saw him, and I said to my wife, I said, I got to go say hi to Pete Berg. So I started walking towards him, and he turns and he looks at me. And as I'm walking towards him, and his eyes just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I stopped and I said, "Do you remember me?" And he goes, "Mitch." And he goes, "I just had visions of terror. Horace Pinker was coming to kill me again." He said, "That's all I saw when you were walking towards me. It was Horace Pinker." But and we exchanged numbers, and I would love to work with Pete again. At the time when we were doing Shocker, it was one of his first things, I think.
Yeah.
And at that time, man, he was like a hawk watching everything that Wes did. And he said to us one day, he came to work one day, and he goes, "I'm going to be a big director one of these days." And it was like, he called it. I'm very, very happy for him, very proud of him.
Absolutely.
What's like all the different ways that people can access the X-Files now on the internet? What is that? I mean, that's so changed from 93, 94. It was just TV.
Pretty primitive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the internet was pretty primitive back then. Some of those chat rooms, and it was like this is. You think back about those things now.
Yeah.
It's weird. I think it's definitely had. I think it's had an effect. I think it's definitely going to have an effect on our stories. I think that Chris wants. He likes keeping the fans. He likes listening to them, and seeing what they have to say, and then if it works with the show, But he definitely does. He does pay attention to what the fans are saying, and I think you're going to see a result of that this season. So
That'd be
it's
awesome.
pretty cool stuff this season. I mean, it's like I keep saying it's like old school Mulder and Scully. It's like back to what they were doing when we were originally doing the show that made everybody love the show so much, and built such a tremendous fandom that we have stuck with us for so long. And the fact that we have new generations of fans, you know, I go to these conventions and I see, you know, kids 10 years old come up that have just watched every episode, you know, and it's like, it's so gratifying to see that type of response. The parents, the grandparents that pass it down to the parents, it's actually almost 3 generations, you know, and then those parents that pass it down to their kids. So it's pretty cool.
Good.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think they're taking some
Thank you
pictures.
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.